before we get there, I find it interesting. When you just putting two and two together, and the Lord just revealed to you, and this is nothing. It's just a fun fact. Not even fun. It's just a fact. It's Acts 28 because the commentary goes into Paul was when he got back to Rome. There it is right here, Acts 28 and 16. And when we came to Rome, the centurion delivered the prisoners to the captain of the guard, but Paul was suffered to dwell by himself with a soldier that kept him. Right? NLT says when we arrived at Rome, Paul was permitted to have his own private lodging, though he was guarded by a soldier. So Paul was on house arrest. This is your earliest form. This Paul was on house arrest for preaching the word. They thought that the word was going to stop by planting them somewhere. Nah, eventually the Lord sent Onesimus, and we gonna get into it. This was just interesting to me though, saying that at the time Paul was he was on house arrest. It's down to verse 30, and Paul dwelt 2 whole years in his own hired house and received all that came into him, preaching the kingdom of Yahweh and teaching those things which concern the Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach with all confidence, no man forbidding him. No one tried to stop him. Why? Because this word is going to go out either way. But Paul, he took pride in the work, man. Paul was that guy. All right, let's go back. Let's go back to Philemon. Philemon 1 and 8 in the NLT. I'm just going to keep it in the NL. It reads, Slakia, that is why I am boldly asking a favor of you. Paul's appeal to Onesimus. I could demand it in the name of Hamashiach because it is the right thing for you to do. And the word Onesimus, this name means useful, I believe. Let me get it. Etiquette, it's been a minute. Profitable or useful, slave of Philemon. So profitable or useful. And we're going to get back to the meaning. All right, verse 8 again. This is why I am boldly asking a favor of you. I could demand it in the name of a Mashiach, Yahweh Shai, because it is the right thing to do. But because of our love, I prefer simply to ask you. Consider this as a request from me, Paul, an old man, and now also a prisoner for the sake of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Paul was wise, man. And I'm going to tell you, we going because Paul, he was an elder. He was an apostle. And he could have simply used his authority, right? And forced Philemon to release Onesimus. He could have used his authority. He could have commanded him. But instead of commanding him, he asked him, and he did it lawfully. He did it in a more brotherly way. Not saying that if he commanded him, he wouldn't have been wrong. But that's negating the whole fact that the Lord's superpower was humility, man. Knowing that he could have did anything he wanted to. But the fact that anything and everything was outside of the Lord's will, he chose not to. He was about his father's business. Paul showed his wisdom when he reacted this way, and it's how we handle situations, man. Good and bad situations, circumstances come unto us alike, all of us. It's how we react to them. We can't control what's coming to us most of the time, but we can control how we react all the time. We just got to have more discipline and more self-control. Right? So Paul, instead of, basing his request on his own authority, he did it on Philemon. He did it on Philemon's commitment, on his works, on how he was moving, and based on how on his fear of the Lord. And Paul knew him like he knew himself because he was the one that brought him into the fold. Paul would be considered his spiritual father because he's planted that spiritual seed and the Lord watered it. Hey, these spiritual relationships, in this walk, man, when you united in the fear of the Lord, it far outweighs the relationships of your family, man, or your kin. I'm gonna grab that. Let me just keep going. You know, because it's not what we say, it's how we say it, man. Especially when we come in, when it comes to dealing with brothers, dealing with each other. We don't want to offend each other, right? So Paul wanted Philemon's loyalty. He wanted his obedience, heartfelt, not in no grudging way, not with no tension and no animosity. So that was just a good example of how to deal with conflict. Let's keep going. Verse 9, but because of our love, I prefer to simply ask you, again, consider this as a request from me, Paul, an old man now and also a prisoner for the sake of Yahushua Mashiach. I appeal to you to show kindness to my child, Onesimus. Why did he call him his child? Because he converted him too. Onesimus, he was a runaway slave. He fled from Philemon and Colossae to Rome, where he found Paul, right? And he eventually became a follower. So Onesimus' spiritual growth caused Paul to call him a faithful and beloved brother. Real quick, let me Colossians 4. And 9, right to the point. With Onesimus, a faithful and beloved brother, one who is of you, they shall make known unto you all things which are done here. So he's vouching that Onesimus was one of them guys, man, of that reverence. That was just a quick reference. It's verse 11. Onesimus hasn't been of much use to you in the past, but now he is very useful to both of us. It says now he is very useful to both of us. I am sending him back to you, and with him comes my own heart. Right? So he was basically claiming Onesimus as a son too. Right? Because now he's a faithful and beloved brother. He was reborn. So we're going to keep breezing. But it's like we got to study Paul's approach to the matter. Because when we reconciling, you know what I'm saying, a separation or mediating a problem between two brothers, trust must be rebuilt between both parties. And what did Paul do? One, he identified everyone that was involved. He called Philemon his brother and Onesimus his child, like a son. Two, he requested. He didn't order Philemon. He requested him to do the right thing. Brought up Yahushua and how, how we dig, we we can make things sound good. He He also sought Philemon's voluntary consent. He wanted his consent voluntary, not he didn't want his, he didn't go about it, right? His submission by the rules or by his authority. He wanted his voluntary consent. You gotta want to do this thing, man. It didn't feel forced. He agreed. What else he do? He agreed to pay the debt. Whatever was lost, he agreed to pay it. The restoration, he took care of it. Instead of abusing his power or his position, he approached to rebuild a trust and relationship. So with all that being said, you really think Philemon why wouldn't Philemon receive Onesimus with open arms, a love, an embrace? This is the beauty of the Lord. The love of the Lord is faith and is his grace and his mercy. Because, hey, he had the legal right. Philemon had the legal right to kill a runaway slave. That may be why he ran. He feared for his life. He knew that the punishment was death. So it was the Lord that guided him to Paul, man. From that prison cell, Paul led Onesimus to the Lord. He asked Philemon to forgive him, to forgive his runaway slave who'd been converted, who's crying to the names of the Lord now. Right? Going beyond forgiveness, man. He accepted him as a brother, man, and as a brother in his walk. Yeah, we bound to do anything for each other within the law, you know. We don't even speak on things like that because it's understood. We don't, you know. Every now and then you like to hear things for assurance, but that's one thing. Like when it come to that, it's done already. Let me see where we at. Verse 13, I wanted to keep him here with me while I am in these chains for preaching the good news, and he would have helped me on your behalf. But I didn't want to do anything without your consent. I wanted you to help. I wanted you to help because you were willing, not because you were forced. See?